The question about the diversity of James Bond, this historical context of queer figures in spy narratives, the broader speculation on reimagining major literary and cinematic icons as LGBTQ plus figures, um, has layers of cultural and political significance. Um, so if you take Bond, and Daniel Craig was questioned today at the Venice Film Festival and was a little short. The Bond character, the character created by Ian Fleming, has been portrayed as the epitome of heterosexual masculinity, something even more macho than President Putin when he was alive, characterized by a mix of charm, physicality, romantic conquests of women, brutality. While Daniel Craig's portrayal introduced a more vulnerable and human Bond, the suggestion of a gay Bond represents a deeper and a more transformative challenge to the character's identity. And Daniel Craig, who was Bond for 5 films, was asked today about the possibility of a gay James Bond at the Venice Film Festival. And while he himself has responded with mild frustration, the director who had cast Craig in his latest film Queer, a gay romance, offered a more nuanced perspective, and he suggested that Bond's personal desires remain deliberately ambiguous and secondary to his primary role as a spy and a sort of as somebody who uses people, who conquers them, and it reflects a broader tension within the series. Bond's romantic life has been a key part of his character, but only insofar as it serves his mission. And the real challenge in considering a gay Bond is how it alters the foundational straight male fantasy that has defined his character. Yet fans have increasingly pushed for more inclusive representations, from discussions around a black Bond, like Idris Elba, to the question of Bond's sexuality. In many ways, a gay James Bond could redefine masculinity and provide representation for LGBTQ plus audiences, marking a shift in how traditionally hyper-masculine characters are imagined, and what boundaries they are prepared to cross. Interestingly, LGBTQ plus figures in the world of espionage are certainly not new. And one example is from the recent film Operation Mincemeat, a great retelling of The Man Who Never Was, this famous World War II deception plan where British intelligence used a corpse of a Welsh traveller, someone down on his luck, who died carrying fake documents to mislead the Nazis about the Allied invasion of Sicily, to mislead the Nazis into believing that they were going to invade Greece instead. And this film adaptation, which I actually saw a few weeks ago, and I very much enjoyed it, suggests that one of the British officers involved in the deception, played by Nicholas Rowe, who of course was famously young Sherlock Holmes, engages in a gay relationship to secure vital information from a Spanish secret policeman, or rather to encourage that vital information is passed on. And this plot point is a nod to the real complexity and the way in which spies have used their skills, let's say, within espionage narratives, where personal relationships, whether real or manufactured, become tools of statecraft. Ian Fleming, though playing a minor role in that historical event, was inspired by such stories for his Bond novels. And espionage is often about navigating multiple identities and deception, something queer people historically have had to do in different contexts simply to survive. And of course the single spies narrative put forward in the 1990s in the plays. There's a natural resonance between espionage and queer identity. Both involve secrecy, performance, survival in a hostile environment that often criminalizes being gay. In addition to Bond and mentioning Nicholas Rowe, other literary figures like Sherlock Holmes have been reinterpreted in a queer context. There was a novel called My Dear Holmes, which explored the potential romantic and intimate nature between Holmes and Watson's relationship. And Sherlock Holmes, a character often emotionally aloof and entirely focused on his work, has long been the subject of queer readings, especially given his close and albeit sometimes ambiguous bond with Watson. And the relationship between Holmes and Watson, much like the hypothetical reimagining of Bond as gay, taps into the complexities of male friendship, intimacy, identity, and these reinterpretations do not necessarily impose a modern lens on old characters, but instead open up new understandings of these characters' internal lives, motivation, reflecting the evolving perspectives of contemporary audiences. Beyond Bond and Holmes, the literary and cinematic world is ripe for reimagining of traditionally straight characters as gay. Considering someone like Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, his obsessive love for Daisy Buchanan could be reinterpreted as part of a larger narrative of queer longing in a society that denies him his true desire. Likewise, superheroes like Batman or Captain America, whose friendships with other male figures often have deep emotional layers, are increasingly subjects of queer speculation. And these reinterpretations aren't about forcing characters into predefined boxes, but instead expand the range of possible experiences that these characters can represent. In the same way that superhero films can grapple with more complex questions of identity, morality, representation, so too, introducing queerness into these iconic roles offers both new storytelling opportunities and a reflection of the modern audience's diverse experiences. The idea of a gay James Bond remains speculative and slightly odd, louche certainly, but it symbolizes a broader cultural shift towards diversity in media. And figures like Sherlock Holmes, Gatsby, even historical figures like those involved in Operation Mincemeat, and historical figures within British royalty, the kings and queens of the past, show that queer readings of iconic characters are not only possible, but they often enrich the narrative. And they may well have basis in reality. As, for example, James I. As audiences continue to advocate for representation, it's likely that we'll see even more reinterpretation of major literary and cinematic icons, whether they are spies, detectives, romantic leads, and ultimately this evolution reflects the enduring adaptability of these characters, able to meet the cultural needs of a new generation.